And public faith in the police eroded even further last night when thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters hijacked London's Liverpool Street station for a sit-in. Chants of ceasefire now bellowed out as more than 500 people caused disruption for commuters. Yeah, so critics slammed the cops for being outnumbered and, quote, afraid to deal with the protests. Our very own Nigel Farage summed it up best when he tweeted, "We'll open your eyes." It comes days after Manchester officers were filmed tearing down posters of Israeli children taken hostage by Hamas. Police chiefs there admitted that their officers got it wrong. Yeah, OK, fine, but do you trust that they won't do it again? I certainly don't. Meanwhile, a man who criticised people waving Palestinian flags on Facebook was swiftly nicked by Met officers who visited him at his own home, with the entire incident filmed and going viral online. So, what do you think? Should we now call in the army to deal with Palestine protests? Let me know your thoughts by emailing gbviews@gbnews.com, or you can tweet me at gbnews. And while you're there, go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you the results very shortly. Look, doing battle on this now is journalist and political commentator Suzanne Evans and imam and broadcaster Ajmal Masroor. Both of you, thank you very, very much. Suzanne, should we bring the army in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a problem here. We've got a real clash of civilizations in our own country. The police, wherever they are in the country, are clearly incapable or arguably unwilling to stop these events happening. It seems to me that we've had so many incidents. We've seen protesters chanting for jihad. We've seen them chasing down Jews in the street. We've seen them carrying placards with the Star of David in a bin. I mean, we're talking about, Nazi era stuff here. And yet the police haven't taken any action whatsoever. I think these protesters, with every time that there are no arrests, they are getting more and more encouraged. They're getting bolder in their approach. They know that they are not going to be arrested for carrying a flag or chanting or whatever it might be. But unfortunately, those people criticising them are the ones that are getting arrested. Now, my hope would be that the army isn't quite so woolly, wet and wimpy as the police are. I feel, frankly, that Jewish people in this country now, the police are becoming a danger to them. I think they're becoming a danger to people like me who want law and order in this country, who are law-abiding and just want the best for our country. These people are taking over the streets. How can you, on a Saturday, this coming Saturday, if you're Jewish, feel safe going to town?
The answer to that, Suzanne, is you can't. I actually went to the protest last Saturday, and it would have been a no-go zone for Jews. Ajmal, I'll bring you in. I would argue that maybe there is already an army on the streets, and that is an army of people who hate Israel.
I think this is unfortunately being conflated by both you and Susanna, and of course I am here to give you the other side of the story. We don't live in North Korea. In North Korea, if you speak against the government, you get locked up, or if you protest, you get shot. In China, you get killed or incarcerated. In many of the countries around the world, especially banana republics, where freedom of speech is completely curtailed, that's what Susanna is wanting us to do in this country. I don't recognise that to be...
Ajmal, can I just cut in? I'm going to have to cut in there because, to be honest... I'm going to come back to you, Ajmal, I'm going to come back to you because that's a lie, right? What Suzanne Evans is calling for is not North Korea, right? And that is a massive exaggeration. What we are seeing is hundreds of people at a train station in our city. This is just one incident, by the way. The same train station, coincidentally, I think not, where Jewish children were brought after the war. I don't think it's North Korea-style policing to say that maybe the army should have been brought in to disperse that, Ajmal.
So did you invite me to just listen to both of you berating one side only and getting your side across? Because
no,
you
I just don't want lies.
Excuse me, let me make my point. Undisturbed 3 minutes to speak, and you've already disturbed me in my 30 seconds of what I was about to say. How is that fair? How is
Are you going to answer my question or not?
No, I will answer your question if you allow me to speak properly. And don't disturb when I'm speaking, please. So, we have a problem in our world today. The world is seeing more than 10,500 innocent Palestinians have been slaughtered by Israeli bombs. If you want to see more slaughter, you say no more protest for a ceasefire now. These people are calling for ceasefire now. more than 70% of British public, according to a YouGov poll that was conducted, have asked for a ceasefire now. We want to end this bloodbath right now. 75 years of occupation of Palestinian people's land should end right now. I'm asking for something very simple. People have every right to protest. We have every right to protest. Susanna, I did not disturb you. Every person has the right to protest. We have the right to protest peacefully. Nobody has taken away the peaceful right of protest, and nobody has broken the law. I've attended the two demonstrations in the last demonstration.
Whoa, that's again
breaking one. So if you want to stop people from protesting, you are going
people
to take
have
our
broken the law.
democratic rights.
Ajmal, people have broken the law. People have been arrested for breaking the law. And just today, the Metropolitan Police have put out pictures of people they would like to speak to in relation to racially aggravated incidents on the streets. And those are people alleged. And those are people No, you can't, because it is Suzanne's turn now, and I'm not having you boss and dictate this interview. Suzanne Evans, I'm going to go back to you on this now. Respond to what Ajmal has had to say there. He thinks that it would not be a good idea, obviously, to bring the army in.
Sure. Well, I think Ajmal's very lucky. He doesn't live in North Korea. He has the benefit of freedom of speech in this country. Those protesters, unfortunately, have or think they have the benefit of freedom in speech to basically preach hate speech. And I think it's terribly interesting, isn't it, that while I've heard many protesters and many people fighting on behalf of Israel ask for a ceasefire, they've never once, as far as to my recollection, asked for Hamas to release the hostages. They've never once asked for Hamas to lay down their arms. They've never once asked for an apology from Hamas or a commitment from Hamas that they will not commit any more pogroms against the Israeli people. In fact, Hamas have said they're going to carry on. Again, this has not been condemned. There is free speech in this country. There is the right to protest. I have frequently, backed both to the nth degree. They are fundamental principles of our democracy. However, there has to be limits on both. There has to be limits on free speech. And I'm afraid, I think if a limit is not calling for jihad, for war against the West, then where is that limit? Because that, for me, is a big red line nobody should be crossing.
Ajmal, what if we are due to have protests on Remembrance Sunday?
I'm absolutely astonished that you did not stop Suzanne for saying something that was factually incorrect just now.
Like what?
Jihad is not a war against the West. That's what she said. Just
come on, Ajmal. Come on, this is
Okay, what are Muslim armies then, Ajmal? Because okay, no, all right, okay, go on. So I get that you're going to use a different definition of the word jihad, fine, but they were standing next to banners calling for Muslim armies as well, weren't they? So let's have it right. Can you answer my question? What would you say if there were going to be protests or demonstrations on Remembrance Sunday? Should they take place?
I've stood in platforms in public protests and I've said what Hamas has done is absolutely wrong. Hamas should be releasing all the hostages immediately. They should not have taken them in the first place. I've condemned until I'm blue in my face, but I'm still to see one rabbi, anyone like Susanna to stand up and say what Israel has done is also barbaric, brutal, and the 75-year occupation is wrong. I've never heard them say that. You know what I would
Why
say?
are you assuming that, Ajmal?
The only way we can bring about peace is when people are genuine and when people are not being dishonest.
So would you say that there should not be protests on Remembrance Sunday?
Well, I didn't hear your question.
Well, I'll ask it for the fourth time. Should there be protests banned on Remembrance Sunday?
No, there should be protests allowed any day we want.
On Remembrance Sunday.
As long as the protest is peaceful, any day we want. Because protest is part of our democratic culture. You can't suddenly say you can't protest this day and protest that day. Who decides which day is holy and which day is not?
Do you think common decency, Ajmal, or not? No?
I believe in saving human lives. 10,000 plus innocent, including 50% of whom are children, have been obliterated to smithereen by bombs from Israel. And you have failed to condemn Israel for its barbaric, brutal occupation and this war that they're waging at the moment.
My job's to condemn.
Not actually achieving anything. They're not achieving anything out of it. If you think they're going to be wiping out Hamas, their war is not going to wipe out Hamas. It's going to only wipe out the Palestinians. This is a genocide and war crime, and Israel will have to pay a price in the International Crimes Court as soon as...
Okay, final word very quickly, Suzanne, from what Ajmal said there about he's all right with protests on Remembrance Sunday.
Well, I'm certainly not, and I don't think any right-thinking person should be. And seriously, if he thinks that his rhetoric and vitriol against Israel is going to help the cause of the Palestinian people, which I have visited, by the way, then he's severely mistaken.
All right, both of you, thank you very, very much. It's called The Clash. That certainly was one. There's journalist, political commentator Suzanne Evans, imam and broadcaster Ajmal Masroor. Now, after those pro-Palestine campaigners stage a sit-in at Liverpool Street Station, should we call in the army to deal with the protests? William on Twitter says, why should the army have to deal with it? Get the police to do the job they are paid for. It's always left to the army to cover up police failures. OK, Bear on Twitter says, if the police aren't up to it, which they clearly aren't, then yes, get the army in. David on Twitter says, but what about freedom of speech? Sending in the army would have a chilling effect on our right to protest. That, I think, is a very sensible range of views there, and I can genuinely see all sides of that. Your verdict is in. 82% of you agree that we should call in the army. 18% of you say that we should not.